Welcome to Tokyo College YouTube channel. My name is Cintia KOZONOI VEZZANI. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at Tokyo College working on the relationship between neurosciences and literary studies. I'm investigating how reading classic novels can help us improve our focus and attention. This is a series of dialogue between UT7 professors and Tokyo College. Thank you very much, Sugiyama Sensei, for being with us today. Would you like to begin by introducing yourself, your discipline, and a little bit about your main research questions?
Okay, so nice to meet you. So my name is Masashi Sugiyama. I'm from the Graduate School of Frontier Sciences in Kashiwa campus. But my background is computer science. And my main research topic is so-called machine learning in the field of artificial intelligence. The purpose of machine learning is to let the computer learn as human does. So we want the computer to learn by themselves. So that's the main target of machine learning. And nowadays, machine learning is really used everywhere. So if you see your smartphone, then a lot of machine learning algorithms are actually running behind.
Wow.
But in our lab, so we are focusing on the very fundamental part of machine learning. So we are doing more like mathematical research and more like computer-related research. So usually, like AI research or machine learning research looks quite fancy and interesting. But unfortunately, our lab is kind of quite fundamental and really nothing to show in the lab, because most of the students are proving some mathematical theorems or doing some computer simulations. But we believe this is the core of current AI technology. So that's why we are spending all of our energy to develop machine learning algorithms and theories.
Wow, thank you very much. I imagine this is the skeleton, right? This is what maintains the structure of the AI process of learning. So thank you very much that you have this teamwork looking at how to the mathematical, the behind the scenes. So that is very, very important. But in terms of this dialogue itself, I was curious, how did you get involved with UT7?
Yeah, so initially actually we started this group as a kind of friend community. So we are doing professors, some are associate professors in the university, and we are running labs in the university, and we are enjoying doing our research. But at the same time, we have some problems, and we can actually share some problems with people in different schools. So that's actually quite important, because my background is computer science, but other people are having different backgrounds. Then, the disciplines are quite different, but we actually have common problems, like research funding, how to attract good students, and how to promote our research. So this can be actually shared with different professors from different schools. So that was actually the beginning of our discussion. And actually, it was not really a serious discussion, but we just had dinner together, and we drank beer together, and really exchanged information and had chat with other professors. That was actually the beginning. Then at some stage, okay, let's try to make this movement more formal and try to kind of have start a new activity to promote our research activities.
That's excellent. I think it's once again a reminder of what is the origin of academia, the possibility of establishing dialogues between friends who are interested in solving questions or mysteries and do committed to investigation of research, and all this by at the same time struggling to face all the obstacles that we have today. So I think it's a very refreshing and inspiring initiative. So I'm very happy to be talking to you today about this. But even before moving forward, I'd like to go to your test. And if you could tell us, when did you decide or you realize that you wanted to become a scientist?
Oh, that's a very hard question, actually. So my background is computer science, and actually I wanted to be a system engineer because I like to do programming and enjoy working with computers. So when I was a master's student, I wanted to be a SE, so engineers. But at some point, we started master's research, and then I became very much interested in fundamental, machine learning research. And then I decided to come to PhD, and then became a scientist.
Wow! And you mentioned how part of this initiative is to think about how can we perhaps invite very good students, researchers to be involved in your own project. Do you have any example of how do you inspiring the new generation to perhaps think about AI but not only, as you said, what is the face of AI, but what is happening behind the scenes, the mathematical aspect. How do you inspire your students?
Yeah, that's a really challenging question. But I think the best way is to like visit some universities or visit some conferences or workshops and give a talk. So that's the best way. Some students are coming to like my session and they listen to my talk. Then after the session, so we have some informal discussion. Then some students are kind of attracted in this field. Then some of them want to do a PhD in my lab, a postdoc in my lab. That's the way we attract new people in the lab.
It's a beautiful image of the professor who's both the researcher but also almost like an ambassador who is circulating. Yeah. You are really spreading.
But that's also an important job of professors. Right? We are of course doing research, but at the same time we are running a lab. Then to maintain the lab, we need to have good students, new students, and new researchers. Yes. So promoting our research is really one of the most important aspects of our activities.
Yes, definitely. And today, if I may say, the topic of AI has become very, very popular.
Yeah.
And both in a positive, but also certain philosophers or scientists have been showing that there is a potential for a risk in terms of AI causes certain harm for humanity, this existential risk. Do you have any opinion on this?
That's really a tough situation now. Like 20 years ago or 25 years ago, when I started my machine learning research, this topic was nothing popular. Then we are just playing with some mathematical puzzles or computer puzzle, and okay, we did something and published something, and that was it. But nowadays, so it has really a social impact. Like whenever we write a paper, and actually in our field, so we publish a paper in conferences. Then at the same time, we put our paper on free servers on the web, so-called archive. Right. Then so people in the world can read our papers for free before really publishing it. Okay. So then at that stage already we have comments from people over the world.
Wow.
And not only from researchers, but also more like social people or even media people. So that's a kind of responsibility of our research. Yes. So we are not simply solving mathematical puzzles anymore, but machine learning really impacts the real society, and it could change our society. So we have actually quite a serious responsibility to do machine learning research. Then now, so reliability of machine learning is really important. So some people think it's dangerous. So partially because it's not that much reliable. Still, it makes some errors. Sometimes so-called hallucination nowadays. If we use large language model, then what the system tells can be a complete lie, but with a high confidence. So that's called hallucination in the community. But this is basically lack of reliability of machine learning systems. Because AI systems are trained based on data collected from the internet or sensors or whatever. So then those data often contains noise. And that noise actually degrades the reliability of machine learning systems a lot. And from our theoretical side, we want to guarantee that even if data is noisy, our machine learning system should perform well under some restrictions. So that kind of guarantee is something we want to give to machine learning systems. So that's our kind of theoretical machine learning research.
And I'm so sorry if I'm pushing a little, but I like what you said about being aware of how the impact of what you're doing in the social, concrete way has not been necessarily in the beginning when you're really perhaps passionate about just looking at the numbers and thinking about this formula. But now there is this constant reminder and fear. And do you believe those fears are fundamental? Like they are? There is a risk for this to happen? You mentioned how there is this the internal mistake, learning but not learning properly, and then the lack of confidence. It's funny that those traces are very human. They are perhaps what we see about when things don't go well in humanity. Either we lose trust in the government or in sciences in general, just because there is this lack of or misleading between the confidence of what is being said and what is really happening behind the scenes. So in the sense, I feel that you're talking more about the humans more than the machines themselves.
Yeah.
So I was curious if in the moment where AI will be able to even create another AI, so the humans are moving away from this process of learning a machine. Do you think there would be a risk for humanity, or you think that there will be harmony between humanity and...
So maybe the answer is not simply yes or no, because there are many different aspects. But already, whenever we have some new technologies, then some of our part is replaced by those new technologies. The invention of cars, for example. So the AI is basically the same, or computers are the same. So from that viewpoint, it's a harm, right? And also it's a risk in a sense. But at the same time, we should learn how to use those new technologies and how to change our life based on those new technologies.
Yes.
So without new technologies, now that population is growing over the world and we have a lot of environmental problems and a lot of challenges out here, then we need really new technologies. So then basically we shouldn't stop developing new technologies. So it is true that there is certain risk, but it is also part of our research to reduce the possibility of risk as much as possible. But at the same time, we should maximize the kind of utility of new technologies, machine learning. So that's this kind of balance is quite important nowadays.
Yes, if I may share a little bit more about my own research, because I see the parallel. So my dissertation was on the rise of female leadership in 19th century Brazil and Lusophone world. So I follow how women struggled in the beginning to have access to reading, writing, and then the more they were able to read, the more they wanted to write, and that caused a problem in the gender distribution because men were so afraid of women having access to reading and writing. And in this sense, we're talking about a technology, the books and writing as a technology that in the past did not exist. So my present project, I am trying to find another way of inspiring the new generation to read more books. Because in 100 years, we go from a very intense desire to learn, to read, to use those words, to say something. And today we have access to so many books, but no one is really reading them. So in many ways, when the book was born, there was a lot of resistance because it was changing the way humanity used to operate. It was a very oral society. You memorized the stories and you tell, and usually within a community, or maybe when the books started to become popular, maybe one person could read and everybody else would listen. Until during the 19th century it becomes a very individualized experience. So there were many criticisms as well, but also many things you could learn from that. As I say, there's so much knowledge there in the book. You just need to make sure you have access to. So I think that there is a parallel in the sense of how much we need to adapt ourselves to the new technology and learn with it.
So there are definitely machine learning and AI should be helpful. So now we have tons of books, a lot of information over the world, and we can access all of them in principle. But then the next question is which information we should access, because it's impossible to see all information at once. So we can use machine learning technology to select important information for me or for that person. And then based on my output, machine learning system can be further updated. Then they recommend me even more informative information later. So this kind of interaction between human and the machine is nowadays actually quite important.
And you're thinking about the present, right? This interaction. But how do you see your discipline in 100 years from now?
Nobody knows, because the speed of change is so fast in the machine learning and AI community. 10 years before, nobody knew large language models appear and such an intelligent AI system appears in 10 years. So it's impossible to tell even what happens in 10 years or even 5 years. So we just see the near future that we can, the current technology is developed in this way. We can maybe make some prediction. But after that, it's the usage of technology. So nobody knows. So I am quite curious also by myself.
Yeah, and as you said, the usage of technology is something that I'm also interested in my project, because I feel that the way the algorithms have been developed today with the apps of social media is to make sure you keep looking at your phone. No matter what you do, you want to grab your phone once again and keep looking at it. And by argument is that by reading novels, we can train our brains, like when you go to the gym and you exercise, to learn how to resist to those algorithms. So I'm trying to find ways to make the person who's using more responsible to create certain limits of using this technology. So as you said, it would depend on how people are using the tools.
I think it's quite important that all people can use like AI systems, and they should benefit from the new technology. So that's our ultimate goal. But currently, only some selected people can use very advanced technologies, and they are making a lot of profit and they acquire a lot of knowledge. But this should be equalized, and all people in the world should be able to access the same information. And they should benefit from the system.
And I went to the UT7 dialogue series, and I saw that the one you are part of, you're using this metaphor of imagining your house as the hospital. So would that be an example of if more people had access and equal access to AI, then we could have better assessment of our own health, or how to monitor our own health issues, and how to take care of ourselves, perhaps from home without having to. That's one example.
So in the end, I think AI systems should be more personalized. But nowadays we have like one big large language model, and everybody access it and obtain information. But in the future, maybe that should be downloaded to the smartphone of each person, and they have their own large language model and AI assistant in their smartphone. Then this assistant is also updated to match with me or with you. So you can really rely on like your partner as an AI.
That's good to imagine this scenario. And when you talk about imagining scenarios, I was curious if you do like to read science fiction. Do you have any books that may have inspired you to even imagine those possibilities? Or even the books that made you worried about, oh wow, what if things go wrong?
Like when I was a child, I like to see like SF movies, for example. But nowadays, I try to separate like scientific fictions and real science. Because fiction is fiction. It's fine and full of dreams, and I enjoy looking at those movies. But the reality is actually quite different. And also our research is quite fundamental. And of course, we want to in the end achieve such a dreamy future based on like AI and machine learning. But these are not the same. And often this scientific fiction part, how can I say, accelerate the technology, in some cases. But often it misleads at the same time. Like many people are afraid of AI because of some scientific fiction, the influence of those movies, for example. But it's not really true. But this is quite difficult to explain to those who are not doing research on machine learning.
Yes, but I think this is a great opportunity to clarify those things. And also, I think part of UT7's initiative is to really bring collaborators from different disciplines. Because maybe it would be nice to imagine one day a conference with sci-fi writers and your team, and maybe explaining why is it so different, or what could be what positive image there is in this sci-fi movie that you would like to see it, but there's still a huge...
I shouldn't criticize that too much, because showing something negative is also quite important. And also, if they really talk about real science, then it cannot be a movie anymore. It's not fun at all.
It's good to perhaps create those dialogues.
It's nice to have a dream.
Yes.
But at the same time, we need some fact behind. It's a true science for us.
Yes. And talking about, as I said, this possibility of dialogues with other fields, do you have any concept that comes from a different discipline that you think it's important for you, or how do you see the richness of bringing interdisciplinary projects together?
From that viewpoint, like the field of AI and machine learning is already extremely interdisciplinary. Like we are more on the computer science side and mathematical side, but to develop new theory or new algorithm, we need some strong motivation. And those motivations are actually coming from inspiration from different fields. Like I have a chat with some engineers or science researchers in physics, chemistry, biology, medicine, or even ordinary people ideally.
Yes,
Then all of the input from those people are kind of big motivation for us to think about new machine learning technologies.
Oh, that's nice to think about this process of inspiration. And also about inspiration and collaboration. You mentioned earlier that you have been traveling in the US and in Europe. How do you see the importance of bringing different countries together to conduct research?
So we just need more people. That's the main issue. Because nowadays, the field of AI and machine learning is really growing, and we need everywhere. We need more researchers and engineers. Then everybody is traveling around and looking for good students and good researchers, and I'm just one of them.
Great. That's good that you are representing Japan in this.
And we show that our group is quite interesting.
Yes.
And, if you are interested, please come to our lab.
And talking about Japan itself, I was thinking how it is one of the greatest countries when we think about robotics. But not necessarily when we think about AI right away. So what are the steps that perhaps you are thinking about how to make perhaps Japan a leader for AI?
So from my viewpoint, Japan is also one of the strongest countries in AI and machine learning. So my opinion.
Yes.
But I must admit that number of researchers is quite less compared with other countries. So that's the current problem. We have actually really good researchers and good students, but the number is quite limited.
Yes.
So our important near future job is to attract more people and make a community bigger. So still we are a bit behind in terms of the number of researchers and number of engineers in AI.
So the goal is to increase this local production of knowledge.
Because we have a lot of good companies in Japan and a lot of good engineers are there. But we don't have so many students to work for those companies nowadays. And also in universities, we need more students in computer science, AI, but still the number is limited.
And do you have any ideas of how to inspire, let's say, going even to the younger generation, like high school students? Is there any kind of dialogue that you try to create with high schools?
Yeah, so sometimes I have a chance to give a lecture to high school students or even junior high students, and I'm really talking about latest machine learning technologies to them. And some of them are really excited about that. Some of them are quite experts, surprisingly. So hope that those excellent students can come to our lab in the future or University of Tokyo in the future and learn AI and do AI research. So that's my hope.
I will share this as well, because I think it's very important to make sure that new generation has the spirit of curiosity. Because at the end of the day, you're talking about how can we, in your case, interact or find ways of feeding this machine learning process. So it's very beautiful to think about the process that we go through to learn. I was very fortunate. I went to a school in Brazil that had the philosophy of learning how to learn. And this also becomes kind of interesting. I don't know about the Japanese educational system, but how the process of teaching the machine how to learn makes us ask ourselves, how are we learning what we learn?
That's an interesting question. So machine learning researchers learn from neuroscience research. So by looking at how human learns, we want to train the machine in the same way, but not the other way around. From AI, if we want to have a new education idea in classes, for example, that would be an interesting direction. I think people are not really explored that so far.
Yes, but maybe there's something there to think, because if we're struggling to make sure that students continue in an academic career, maybe there's something that could be refreshed by looking at this other way of teaching that could be now back to humans. So something that we could, I don't know, dream about.
But at least education support is possible based on AI system. There are millions of students over the world, and we can learn, machine learning system can be trained based on those data. Then, in a sense, it is possible to find the best way to learn something as efficient as possible. This kind of system can be built and already used in some schools, actually.
That's very good to imagine this. What future scientific breakthrough are you most excited about?
Future?
Yes, breakthrough.
That's really a difficult question because as a researcher, our job is to change the future. Right? The prediction of the future is based on the current technology, but we are developing something new. Then the new technology actually really changes the future. So then, like subjective prediction can be a goal of our research. So the prediction is, so to me, prediction is not so clear. So based on the current technology, maybe the future goes in this way. But we try to change it to this direction. Okay, so that's our job.
That's an interesting way of seeing this future, that is creating the tools so that the future will be there.
Because the role of machine learning is to make prediction. But in the end, we want to interfere the current society and change the future. So that's the ultimate goal of machine learning. So that's actually next generation technology in AI. So changing the future. This is not really possible with the current technology, but mathematically we started to have new theories on interference for the future, and this actually makes a lot of sense.
And I really appreciate how you are very your enthusiasm and your passion for what you say is the behind the scenes of the mathematical creation of how to really feed this machine.
But this is really exciting. Like what we are doing is really fundamental and mathematical. Maybe it could be boring to most of the people, but it really impacts the real world. So theory and reality are really connected in our community. I think this is quite rare. Like we have a lot of mathematical researchers over the world, but usually math is quite different from, quite far from the reality. Yes. But in the field of AI computer science, so math and reality are really close to each other. Okay. I can directly advise companies, for example, although I'm doing mathematics by myself.
Okay, wow.
That's really exciting.
Yes, and I feel sorry for having to be to bringing the sci-fi once again, it's where I could touch a little. But in the movie Matrix has been very popular in terms of imagining this scenario where machines are controlling the world and humans are just the source of energy. Do you even consider this a possibility or not at all? You can't even imagine.
Already maybe I'm part of that. But for example, nowadays, large language models generate a lot of information. Then, so humans are expected to investigate the information and see whether they are correct or not. But this is already part of that story. Right? AI generates information randomly. Then humans devoted their life to inspect whether the generated information is correct or not. So this is quite bad, I think. Okay. But still, the current community is going towards that direction. Let's use large language model, but the final output should be guaranteed by humans. So maybe this is not the right approach. Okay. So we want to have something more than that. We need to really understand what large language models are really doing mathematically. And then based on that knowledge, we should go beyond that scenario. Okay. So that's something we want. But at this moment, I have no idea.
Yes. So if I understood you correctly, the best scenario would be that, as you said, more people would have the knowledge to understand how the machine works, that would be, or the AI, in the sense of seeing this behind the scenes, how it's being fed, and perhaps by working closely together, we would be more in harmony than imagine this situation.
That's a very good point, because nowadays, basically, we are correcting the error of machine learning systems. So large language model generates some information. Then if something is wrong, we point it out. Okay. Then the system is retrained based on our feedback. Okay. So this is a standard process, but we are basically wasting our life to check the information randomly generated by AI. So this is quite bad. So as you said, if human and machine can live together and teach each other, then we can more naturally harmonize this process. And we don't really want to serve for AI, but we want to live with AI.
Yes,
that's quite important.
It's a very challenging conversation to have, because you used the sentence to not waste our lives by improving the AI, and our time goes by and we're not necessarily advancing. And I was thinking about some problems that have been having since AI, the ChatGPT became very popular and accessible. That students started to write their exams or articles, and in the sense it becomes, no one is really thinking any longer on their own. You just create a text and then the teacher may even use another AI to start reading because in this scenario no one really is looking at what is being produced. And that's why I was imagining that this conversation could help us rethink the process of education. Because having this paper written at the end doesn't, it's being, no one is really learning anything any longer beyond the AI who is doing all this learning.
But in the daily life, I think it's good to use such latest AI systems to learn more and learn quickly. But in terms of evaluation or education, so this is a problem.
Yes,
still, nobody has good answer to this question.
Which I think at this stage we need to change the way of evaluation and take advantage of what we can learn in the speed. As you said, I think the key word is time. Like you can learn so much so fast, as long as you have curiosity. And you know how to ask the questions.
That's education, like maintaining curiosity or having curiosity to new topics. That's the most important part nowadays.
Yes. And how do you inspire curiosity, if I may ask?
I don't have to inspire. Like it comes automatically and naturally. I'm just enjoying, doing research.
Because I think that if a younger person sees you now, will be inspired by you, and maybe that would be a source of curiosity to say, what is he doing at his lab? Because in general, I feel by looking at how people are not reading books any longer, there is the curiosity sense has decreased. Why would I open this book? So how to really bring this light of saying there's an entire universe, an entire collection of lives, of messages, of mysteries waiting for you to have access. And this is, in a sense, different from going through the machine learning softwares because it depends on the person to access that information and then process through themselves. So I think they're two different parallels.
Yeah, but nowadays we have tons of information around and selecting information is really the key issue.
Yes, yes.
Like if you simply say like reading a book, we have like millions of books over the world, and it's impossible to find the right one by ourselves.
Yes.
Then either we ask our friends to recommend good books, or ask AI to recommend.
That's a great way of working together. Then the AI and the human. Then too. That's a lovely way.
In that way, I think we can inspire more curiosity in an appropriate way.
That's true. That's very good.
But if suppose I have some interest on certain topic, but I don't have any good friend to ask about that. But AI can be like my friend to ask a question.
That is great. So do you envision this, even this terminology, AI as a friend? That could be a good way of imagining this future.
It's not a Terminator.
I like it. AI is a friend. That's very good. And we can explore the possibilities of books together. That's great. And I also like to usually to conclude by asking, do you have any recommendations of books or films or even music that has been important during your academic trajectory? Either something you watched or could be something that inspired you to follow this scientific, even though everything is very different from reality.
That's a bit hard question to answer because it's a bit subjective, and also like I don't really want to mention one particular for the movie or book because I think accessing variety of information is really important, and of course I have some personal preference on this one on that one. But it's a subjective bias.
Yes.
So I think it's important to access many different sources of information and then find what is most inspiring for me or for yourself.
That's great. I think that's a most beautiful lesson, right? To maintain the curiosity to explore different fields of materials, art, music, and that's great.
Then as a researcher, in the end, so we focus on one particular topic and dig deeper. But before that, I think it's nice to explore, exposed to many different topics.
Yes, and I think probably not only the topics, but also the possibility of countries, maybe.
Different cultures.
Cultures, exactly. Well, I think then when you are able to really travel, you also are naturally invited to see different things. And in this sense, do you have anything, you mentioned a lot about collaboration with AI and other countries, but is there something that Japan has been doing differently from other researchers in other parts of the world?
Yeah, so for example, master's program at the University of Tokyo, other universities in Japan, I think it's one of the best schools over the world. Like in other countries, usually master's students don't really do research professionally. But here at University of Tokyo, other universities in Japan, master's students really do professional research and write thesis, and sometimes they publish papers. So this is quite rare, I think, in the world. So if I see the level of master students in Japan, so they are one of the best students over the world.
Congratulations for being...
And hope that some of them continue studying in PhD. But still, this part is a bit challenging at this moment.
Oh, but that's really inspired then to make sure that they continue. So I will say thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for the nice conversation.